Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel, Ticking Together. As always, the goal of this channel is to provide education about and to raise awareness as to what it's like living with Tourette syndrome. In today's video, I'm just gonna get right into it. I am reading from my Tourette's diary. And yes, it is true, I have a Tourette's diary. When I was around 11, I started this journal to document my life with Tourette syndrome and being diagnosed with it. And I thought it would be super cool to read this for you guys and expose myself a little bit and see what the heck 11 to 14-year-old Carly was thinking. So let's get into it. For those of you new here, my name is Carly. I am 23 and I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome when I was 12. So it has been a fairly long journey of living with Tourette's and figuring out how to deal with tics in a giant scary world. And so this journal documents my life with tics starting from the very beginning until about 3 to 4 years in. And I thought it would be super cool to just read it for you guys and give you guys a little bit of a glimpse into my life. So let's get started. Okay. So the beginning has a disclaimer and it says, "This book is very private. Please do not read past this page without permission." And it's a good thing I'm giving you guys permission, because if not, you would have to click off this video. Please don't. We're gonna get into the nitty-gritty and the tea. The journal, I titled it Tick Like a Clock, and I just did some little art. And I wrote, "It's not because I want to, it's because I have to," which is very, very angsty, but also very true. Let's get into it. So the first page is me explaining tics a little bit and trying to talk to my reader, even though this book is not supposed to be read, I don't think, about what a tic is and what it's like living with tics. So let me just read it. Tic. The word may sound familiar to you, but I highly doubt we're thinking about the same thing. The kind of tic that I'm talking about isn't the bug that lies deep beneath your pet's fur, or the sound that a clock makes as the second hand spins around, eventually reaching minutes and hours. No. The type of tic that I'm talking about is a movement or sound that you can't control. Let's just say you're sick with a cold and a cough. When you feel the need to cough, the tickle in your throat is there, telling you that you need to cough. You can only hold it off for so long until you give in and cough. Another example is an itch. You'll eventually have to scratch it no matter how hard you try to resist the urge. Well, this is basically how uncontrollable a tic is. You'll eventually give in to the urge and keep doing the tic until it feels right, which makes a tic even more like a common cough or itch. You keep coughing and scratching until your throat is clear or the itchy feeling is gone. Then I talk about how tics are like for me. So I say, for me, tics are annoying, embarrassing, and some can even be painful. When my arm jerks back or when I scrunch my nose, it's not because I want to, it's because I have to. And when my chin scrunches into my neck, I try to stop it by telling myself that I can stop it. But the truth is, I can't. The thought of doing the tic always seems to overcome the thought of stopping the tic. Like I said, I always give in to the urge. When my neck jerks back, it hurts. When it's hurting me, I can't stop the tics, just like I can't stop them when they aren't hurting. It's really not fair when this happens, because it's almost like you're hurting yourself without actually meaning to hurt yourself. You're just trying to calm the urge. Of all the tics I have, painful ones are by far the worst. If I have a bad day where my tics are crazy, like when I jerk my arm back constantly, sometimes the pain will last for days, and it doesn't help that I do these painful tics every day. So that's the opening to my journal. I think I wrote this when I was probably 11 to 12. This was probably after I was diagnosed, so maybe 12. And I think that's pretty profound that a 12-year-old could write like that. I don't know, maybe just me, but I think it's very true, and I still feel the exact same to this day, that painful tics are super, super awful. They are not ideal. They're the ones that I probably dislike the most. I hate them. I think they're awful. And since this journal, I have developed a lot more tics, such as the punching one you just saw, and a lot more dystonic tics, which I will link a video up there if you want to know what a dystonic tic is. But I've developed a lot more painful tics over the years, and so I feel like this journal was kind of like a predisposition to the world of painful tics, and I feel bad for 12-year-old me, and I still feel bad for myself because, I mean, okay, whatever. I feel upset because painful tics are awful, and that's just a thing. Okay, let's get into the next page. So I said, I really like how my doctor described a tic. He said, the tic is like a beaver dam. The water pressure keeps getting higher and higher until the dam breaks. You can only hold back a tic for so long until you can no longer hold it in. And so I feel like he was talking about how the water pressure is like the buildup before a tic comes, and you can only hold back on that before the tic comes out or the dam breaks and the water just explodes over the dam. And so then I say, there's actually no better way to describe the feeling of the resistance of a tic. It's almost like at times when I try holding in a tic, that's all I can think about. You're concentrating so hard on one small thing that you can't pay attention to anything else. And to me, that part is scary. I always end up giving into the urge, but then I discovered that one day, when I concentrate on something so hard, sometimes my tics can disappear for long periods at a time. Never for longer than an hour though, which sucks. When I'm concentrating on something that I love, like singing, for example, my tics will sort of go away for a bit. I'm not sure how that happens, but I love it. It's like a release of all this tension and pain that's built up in your body, where you can just escape from everything. You're free from everything for a short period of time. Then it gets into the kind of story times about my Tourette's diagnosis. So I talk about how on American Idol, my family and I were big fans, and we saw James Durbin come on the show. And he was a guy who has Tourette syndrome, and he had visible tics at his audition. And so me and my family were like, oh my gosh, this is something that I do, and seeing it on TV was very cool to relate to. So then in the journal, I talk about how I remember talking about American Idol at school with some friends, and we were talking about our favorites, and of course I brought up James Durbin. And so they all were like, oh, the guy with Tourette's? And I told them, yeah. And one of my friends asked what Tourette's was. And I told them that it's a disorder that makes you have uncontrollable movements and noises such as blinking your eyes really hard and coughing. And so I remember vividly that she was like, okay, yeah. And the other friend was like, seriously, Carly, Tourette's? You can't explain it, it's weird, it's so stupid, it's not a real disorder, blah, blah, blah. I literally have in here that she wrote, like, she said, it's weird, you can't describe it, it's something that is just a freak of nature type thing. And so the friend went on and on about how Tourette's makes you yell bad things and how it makes you just a really awful individual. And so then I write that this honestly really upset me, especially when my friend called it weird and then it was like a freaky kind of thing. I wasn't even positive that I had Tourette's at this time. Ooh. But I still felt terrible because I had the same tics as people with Tourette's did. I had felt okay about it because of James Durbin being such a great role model. But when my friend said it was weird, it was like a slap in the face kind of, and oh, maybe I should listen to her, maybe it is weird, maybe it is a freak of nature type thing. So I assumed immediately that I was weird and a freak of nature. I eventually forgot about it and focused more on how it was common and how it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Then I talk about how I eventually developed new tics, nose scrunching and arm jerking and back jerking, and that one has stuck to this day. And then I actually talk about the time that I was kind of diagnosed or pre-diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. And I go to the doctor and I was sitting in his office, this was a pediatrician, and I remember him saying, wow, you have a lot of tics. And I was like, a lot? Like, I just do what I do, you know? And so the next little bit of a story that I talk about in this journal is that I was at a soccer wrap-up party, so it was like the end of the soccer tournament year, and I was sitting all alone, and of course I was ticking because I'm never really still for very long, and my team came to invite me to the table with them so I wouldn't be alone. And truthfully, I prefer to be alone. I don't know why though, I put that in the journal. When in a large group of people, I usually sit alone or just listen to conversations. I don't really like participating in group discussions, so at this soccer party I just sat at the table listening. Just out of nowhere, one of the girls started flailing her arms in the air. Everyone was wondering what she was doing, and she said, "Twitch, I have Tourette's, okay?" And she kept flailing her arms and laughing with everyone. Tourette's, B word, B word, B word. And she kept swearing and doing very obscene gestures and vulgar things. And for some reason, everyone at the party found this hilarious. And I write that this really, really hurt me. It wasn't directed at me, but I felt that it was, because she was making fun of something that I did do. Something I don't understand is why this is such a topic that can be made fun of. And it shouldn't be made fun of, but it constantly is. So that's what I wrote about, and that was just a thing that was really upsetting. Another kind of story time I talk about here is one night my uncle came over, and it was for a dinner, a family dinner, and my brother was just goofing off, and keep in mind he was probably around 8 at this time, maybe 10. And my brother was just entertaining, dancing, and laughing. And my uncle was like, "God, you're so weird. Do you have Tourette's or something?" And I was like, I don't get it. If that's what you think Tourette's is, then you're super ignorant, because like my uncle knew that I had Tourette's and he was just like, "Oh, your brother has Tourette's because he's so weird. And that's something that bothers me, is that the word Tourette's always has the connotation weird surrounding it. So yeah, not good. But I'm going to end this video here. And so if you want more footage of me reading from my Tourette's journal and exposing some more tea, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below letting me know that you want to hear more from me about my Tourette's journal. If you would like to stay tuned to educational content about Tourette syndrome, as well as some of my life stories of living with Tourette's for over 10 years, please subscribe to my channel and ring that notification bell to stay tuned to all of my content. As always, we're learning together, we're laughing together, and we're ticking together. Have a wonderful evening and see you next time. Bye!